Cheers, y'all.
Well.
Ooh, that was a good one.
Let me welcome all of you, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Today is show number 242.
Halfway to 300.
We're getting there, man. It's pretty exciting. 242 shows, Ian, although, as we have mentioned before, only 241 of them actually saw the light of day. There's that mystery episode.
I wish we had the
really
bitter episode.
I don't think it was all that bad, but apparently our former, and let me underline former, producer decided without consulting us that it was too bitter to air. I'm like, come on, seriously? It wasn't
bitter.
That bad.
I'll show you bitter.
I'll show you bitter. Let's talk Yellow Rose. No, I'm sorry. That was, I shouldn't have said that. So for the first time in actually quite some time, because Mary, who does our booking, has done such a great job of getting great guests on the program, that for the first time in a very long time, it's just Ian and me on the show.
Crazy.
Which means that our special guest today is actually the one and only Mr. Twirlygig.
Mr. Twirlygig.
And I have a feeling this is going to be more exciting to some of our listeners and viewers than when we have, like, a big brewmaster or a cigar expert on, Mr. Twirlygig.
We do get a lot of...
He has his own fandom. It's really weird. I'm surprised the show has any fandom at all, much less that one of the members on it has sort of a fan club of their own. And, of course, not surprisingly at all, it is neither you nor me. It is Mr. Twirlygig. So,
Mr. Twirlygig. We need like a whole separate page for him.
Yeah, we totally do. We actually should do like a Facebook page for Mr. Twirlygig. Yeah, but you know how people sometimes have done that for like their pet turtle or something, and it's wound up with 100,000 followers or something like that. It's pretty good thing to do, I guess. I don't know. I just don't spend that much time on social media anymore. So my wife actually has to show me posts and stuff. She'll go, "Oh, did you see the Facebook post?" I'll be like, "No, I didn't. Can you show me, please?"
Wiki Brian is stating that it is, in fact, son of Twirlygig, which is true.
Yes.
However, since he is the only Twirlygig at the moment, he is also known as Mr.
And this Mr. Twirlygig has eyes, which is an added Twirlygig feature. So, for those of you who don't know, Mr. Twirlygig is what we somehow started calling our little, very cheap-ass rotating thing that we had here that we would occasionally put
that might have been coined by
on.
Wiki Brian.
It might have been. But in any case, it seems to have caught on more so than any of the serious stuff that we do here on the show. And you know what? That's just fine with me. Well, welcome to the program. 242 is the show we are on. We will be talking today about the best rums in the world, according to the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. And I thought, with it being Smokin' and Toastin', the way we always pull things together, I thought that'd be a perfect time to taste a tequila.
Yes.
Exactly. So you follow my logic, right?
I'm following your pathologic.
We'll be tasting the Leyenda del Milagro Select Barrel Reserve Anejo Tequila, which now sits atop Mr. Twirlygig, moving rather slowly.
It looks pretty. Also, I'd like to point out, and I always appreciate this. So I don't want you to think I ever take it for granted, which is why I always mention it, that you have already taken the plastic off the top and cleared the neck of the bottle, so there will be no random
it'll be easy to pour,
things.
no random spillage. Yes. Absolutely. It's something I take it very seriously. I feel like it's one of my duties here on Smokin' and Toastin'. In addition to that, we'll be tasting some beers. And by the way, I want you guys to note this. Today's day is Thursday, July 15th. It's show number 242, because this day may go down. Did Mr. Twirlygig just grind to a halt?
He's done that now. I don't know if we're out of batteries.
Oh, we might be out of batteries. Oh, what a disappointment that he finally gets his big moment.
Do you have a power supply with the micro USB? Because I think we can just power.
Yeah, I think I can probably come up with something here. Oh no, that's to an Apple thing. I'll figure it out. Okay, so as I was saying, this date, July 15th, 2021, show number 242, is actually, I believe, a day to mark in Smokin' and Toastin' history. Because Ian has brought one of the beers today, and it'll be the first one that we taste. And unless I'm mistaken, it is less than 9% alcohol by volume.
I was wondering where you were going with this.
This may be a Smokin' and Toastin' first. Because Ian usually starts at 9 and goes upward from there.
And just moves from there.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. So, no, you brought in something you've been talking about for a while from 11 Below Brewing, their Taco Tuesday. It's a Margarita-style blonde ale.
Yes.
And have you had this?
I have.
Yeah, okay, so it'll be interesting to
But I'm going to wait for your
together.
Response on this.
Yeah, be interesting to taste it together.
I will tell you, though, that 11 Below has been crushing it, man. They
I like those guys a lot.
So many good
They're
beers.
from here in our hometown of Houston, and they have been putting out some really good stuff. I like their, what is it called? Duck sauce is their IPA? Is it
Lame duck? No,
I think it's duck sauce.
Could be. I can't remember, but I know the one you're talking about. They have.
I know what it looks. I know what the can
right, they have
looks
the
like.
funny little cartoon duck on there.
Yeah. Pretty good stuff. From Wilmington Brewing Company in Wilmington, North Carolina, we'll be sampling their Kitten Biscuit. It's a New England style IPA. So I have not tried this.
Kitten Biscuit.
Kitten Biscuit.
All right.
Yeah.
There's got to be a story behind the
two
name.
great things that I don't know if they go together or not, but we'll find out. And then Founders Brewing, which we're both pretty big fans of.
I think Founders.
I think we've had one Founders product on the show we weren't crazy about, and it was their seltzer. Yeah, we weren't crazy about their seltzer. But beyond that, we're pretty big fans of almost everything Founders does. They do something called the Bottle Shop series, which is like limited releases from these guys. And today we'll be tasting one from the Bottle Shop series. It's called Nemesis. It is a Barleywine-Style ale. So we'll be looking forward to checking that out. Those guys from Grand Rapids, Michigan. We mentioned the tequila. So that's going to be good. Our program, by the way, is brought to you by our fine sponsors at mycigarshirts.com. They're great shirts for cigar lovers on the web, and they're reasonably priced, and they're good shirts, and you can check them out at mycigarshirts.com because...
Cigars.
Yeah, please support them because they support the show. We have comments already coming in, Ian.
We do. Alan Denny just mentions tacos are delicious.
Oh, yes.
Bruce Stark says Founders has got to be good. It's from Michigan. Of course, he is always listening from Michigan.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to mention about our buddy, Alan Denny. I missed getting to see him this weekend. We had a chance to get together, you and I, which doesn't happen nearly often enough over the weekend. And actually, Alan was supposed to be there, and I think he was a little under the weather, so he didn't make it. So, but
that will have to be a next time.
We drank many beers in his honor.
Yes.
And enjoyed. What was that? You brought a beer that I really loved from Eighth Wonder. It was the Red Ale. Is that Cougar Paw?
The Cougar Paw. Cougars are the U of H, University of Houston team, and so they make a red ale called Cougar Paw because, of course, the red and white are
boy, that was a good beer.
Yeah, it's a great beer.
Yeah.
And see, Eighth Wonder is another one of those that just crushes it on some of those beers. They make one called Tex.
Yes, which is a great Pilsner.
Which is an amazingly good Pilsner.
Yeah,
it's a go-to.
It's very, very good. And well, we enjoyed a number of different brews, and
between that and the 1836.
Yeah. Oh.
From Buffalo Bayou.
So you're talking about 3 different Houston breweries right there that just crush it, you know? Because Buffalo Bayou, those guys, wow, they do it right. They do it right. And, it's very interesting. I read an article about, how Austin is kind of the darling of Texas when it comes to how the rest of the country looks at Texas, because Austin's so creatively weird, and it's where South by Southwest happens and all that kind of stuff. But the article said, you know what, Austin is like kind of out of control these days. Like the traffic has gotten just horrible, and it's hard to find a decent priced place to rent. And the article I was reading said, we've got all that cool stuff here in Houston. And one of the things it talked about was how good the craft beer scene is
it's
in
really
this
good.
town. You think of Austin, and Austin does have a spectacular craft beer scene. There's no doubt about it.
Not knocking it.
But Houston
doesn't always get its due. People overlook Houston for cuisine and for beer. It's absolutely crazy.
I think that's right. I've been really impressed, and there's new breweries opening here all the time, which is
time.
Crazy. We had the guy from True Anomaly Brewing Company, Michael Duckworth, was here with us last week. They're basically next door to Eighth Wonder.
Yep.
And I can see both of them from my house. It's
they
a
are
pretty cool
literally like 2 blocks away from each other.
Yeah, they're...
you can walk from one to the other very easily. If you go into the Heights, there's a few breweries that are like that, too.
Yep.
You can park at one brewery and just wander off, and there's another one. There's
Great
another
Heights
one.
is a great
Cool,
brewery. Yeah, there's so many good ones in the Heights. So, well, anyway, we'll get to some beers, we'll get to some tequila, and we'll of course be doing drinking news. Our drinking news teaser headline for you today is this guy really loves McDonald's. So we'll get to that coming up. Plus a lot of things in the news, including new cigars to watch for. We didn't get to this last week, so I'm hoping we will today. The 22 best gifts to get a beer lover. And we're going.
Is number 1 beer?
Yeah, that would be my number 1. And speaking of, by the way, things that a list that I would make, I did make, since we're going to be doing this this list from the International World Spirits Competition of the best rums. I put a short list together of my favorite rums.
I didn't know how to put something together, but I can at least pull a few together in my brain.
Yeah, you can do that. You know what you like. So anyway, we'll share that about rum, and we will also talk about new cigars to watch for. There are a couple of really cool new things coming out because the trade show just happened in Las Vegas. So there's been a lot of announcement of new cigars or addition to lines and stuff, and so we'll get to that. Speaking of cigars, I'm assuming you may have had an opportunity to smoke something interesting this week.
Why, sir,
Would I be
did.
Correct? Yeah?
I was perusing the humidor over Casa and just looking for something that I hadn't had. And I came across this crowned heads that I haven't had.
Oh, nice.
It's the J.D. Howard single action Petite Lancero.
That sounds almost deadly, doesn't it?
J.D. Howard is apparently the alias that one of the old gunslingers used, and I'm blanking on it right now.
If only we had some sort of
if only there was a
portable device where we could look up.
And single action being the pistol that he loved so much. I don't know why I'm blanking on it right now.
J.D. Howard. Well, he's a dentist in Dover, New Hampshire.
Well, there's that too.
Wow, I'm actually not picking up.
Let me see if I can find
J.D. Howard Dental is the first thing that comes up when you Google J.D.
Good
Howard.
for that guy. Let's see here.
Yeah.
There's a.
And
it was an alias for Jesse James. That's what it was.
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, there you
Used
go.
when living in Nashville around 1875. The name single action is taken from one of James' guns of choice, the Colt single action Army.
Colt single action. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, so it
Well,
took me a minute. I did still have that up though.
And by the way, a damn fine dentist if you happen to be in Dover,
right?
New Hampshire.
And a dentist.
So go and visit him.
Who
he'll
has
get you,
much Google clout.
He'll get you straightened right out. Yep, he'll get you straightened right out.
So this is a Petite Lancero. It's 6x38.
This is your second Lancero in a row. You did a Lancero last week.
I did. I forgot about that. Yeah.
How about that?
See, well, and I also saw a new. But we'll get to that later. So anyway, it's got a Brazilian wrapper, Ecuadorian binder, Nicaragua filler. The appearance on this is ruddy brown, a little bit rustic overall, single band on it. Medium firmness with some soft spots. Got a little pigtail on the end.
I love those little pigtails. Especially good for a Lancero because you can kind of twist it off of there and not have to worry about clipping. You know.
Well, see, I didn't do that.
You used a guillotine. Okay.
So the pre-light sniff on this, earthy, barnyard fermented hay, chocolate and coffee notes kind of at the foot of it. The pre-light draw, I used a clip. It had a little bit of a tight draw to it, not enough to really distract, but a little bit tight. And the flavors I was getting on the pre-light draw were sweet baking chocolate and creamy coffee, some earth, some leather, and some campfire was going on with this. The initial light. I didn't write much on the initial light. It was very two-dimensional. It was pepper and campfire.
Okay, well,
that's
very
not big.
Necessarily
Not
a bad thing. Yeah.
No,
the only thing is you'll be disappointed if it doesn't venture beyond that as you smoke it.
Well,
right?
sometimes the initial light on a cigar can be very one or two dimensional, and that's okay. The first third of the sweet, creamy coffee backed by pepper and chocolate, pleasant, classic tobacco flavor, retrohale, strong pepper and campfire, solid ash, perfect burn.
Nice.
This thing burned great. The second third of this, more of the same. Developing in nuttiness and dark fruit tanginess. Developing a nuttiness and dark fruit tanginess. Strong cedar notes appear here. Retrohale is pepper and cedar. Solid ash, perfect burn. The third of this cigar, the last third of the cigar, cedar and pepper kind of ramped up a bit. Sweet coffee and chocolate flavors persist. Underlying nuttiness remains. Fruitiness gives way to leather and rich chocolate earth. Solid ash and perfect burn. At this point in time, I got distracted in a conversation with a gentleman named Tony up there who was quite entertaining to talk to, and I didn't write the rest of it. But that's okay.
Yeah.
But because basically what we're down to now is the price versus quality, and and it's fresh on my mind. I'll jot it down on my notes later, so I have it. But this was a $9.50 cigar
For a Lancero.
For a Lancero, 6x38. That's a lot for a small cigar. It did, however, despite the fact that it was only a medium firmness and it had some soft spots, it burned perfectly.
Yeah.
And it lasted a little over an hour.
Yeah.
That was a long smoke for a little cigar. So I'm not complaining about that price at all. Flavor profile wise, I thought it was really, really nice. If you're a person, it's about a medium minus. Overall, if you're a person looking to step up a little bit from a mild cigar, or maybe even a more robust mild cigar,
but you don't want to go too far,
and want to step into the next thing and have a nice, smooth, creamy cigar that's not too harsh or too strong, this is a great step to go to. It was right at that slightly below the middle of medium, I think. So I recommend this cigar. I would buy it again. So I'm going to give it a solid 5. You get exactly what you pay for. The flavors, while they're not super complex, they're very good.
And say the name of the cigar again?
This is the J.D. Howard. It's Crowned Heads J.D. Howard.
J.D. Howard.
And the size is the Petite Lancero.
The Crowned Heads is pretty consistent cigar company.
Yeah, I've been pretty happy. I don't know that I've tried a whole lot of things that I didn't like from them, actually. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but...
Good stuff.
How about you?
Good stuff. I kind of went a different direction this week. We talk about this every once in a while that it's always so tempting to grab the newest and the latest. And so I went against that trend a little bit this week and went with a classic. I smoked the La Gloria Cubana Classic Huevel Maduro Robusto.
Oh, nice.
And this is a really nice-looking little cigar. Nothing too fancy, just kind of a classic look for the bands. But, they do it up right, but it doesn't look like they're trying to get too carried away, too fancy with it, and that's actually really cool. The whole look of it goes along with it being part of their classic line.
Right.
The blend on the classic was actually pioneered by cigar legend Ernesto P. Carrillo, so that sets the bar pretty high.
Yeah.
Because E.P. Carrillo, he kind of knows what he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The dark Maduro wrapper is Connecticut shade. The binder and filler tobacco are Ecuadorian, Mexican, and Dominican. And I'm getting a spam call, which I apologize for.
Your car warranty is about to expire.
Yes, I have a feeling it is. So Connecticut shade, Maduro wrapper, binder and filler, Ecuadorian, Mexican, and Dominican. The pre-light sniff on it gave off a hint of chocolate with kind of deep earth and leather notes. The draw was nice and easy once I used a punch, and on the pre-light draw picked up a little bit of nuttiness in there as well, which was nice. I was pretty impressed with the initial flavors. Some black pepper along with an oaky vibe and hints of leather. I didn't get as much chocolate smoking it as I had on the pre-light, which is interesting because I thought, okay, here comes one of those kind of chocolate bombs, but it wasn't really like that. It was, though, a very pleasant mix of flavors that dominated the first third. Burn was near perfect. The ash looked a little flaky, but it held on tight all the way into the second third. Nice volume of smoke, rich flavors with a little lemon zest creeping in the second third. I finally tipped the ash off at almost the halfway point.
Oh, wow.
Because I needed to, and I think it would have held on longer, but I needed to remove the lower band. It was about to start burning the lower band. So it stayed solid, probably would have held on longer. In fact, in one of the pictures, I actually show the chunk of it in my little green ashtray. It's just
so
like
you tip it off and you can hear the ash hit the ashtray clunk.
Right. It makes a sound, which you know is something pretty solid. The final third didn't change a whole lot flavor-wise, but that was okay. There was a hint of salt on the retrohale, not enough to be distracting, but just the right amount to make you kind of crave another puff. Like when you eat a good, like salty tortilla chip, and then that salt makes you go, "Ooh, I want another one." It was kind of like that with the cigar. It certainly is not as strong as the powerhouse Serie R from
that thing
La Gloria
is a
Cubana, but very few cigars are as strong as that. This was still, though, medium to full all the way through, which surprised me a little. I was expecting it to be maybe on the lower side of medium, and instead it was definitely, just a few ticks
when
below
I think
full.
Gloria Cubana, I always think that's going to straight up be in the full range.
Absolutely. My only critique, and it's a fairly small one, is that it seemed to smoke a little fast. Now, it didn't smoke too hot. I want to make that clear. It actually smoked pretty much perfectly in terms of, the flavors and all of that. But it only took me about 40 minutes to complete the cigar. And generally a Robusto will run me closer to an hour. So, again, not too bad. And I was enjoying it. I guess maybe I just wished it had lasted a little longer. So
leave them wanting, right?
That's only a minor critique, burn.
Learn when to walk out of the room.
Yes, that's right. Leave them wanting more. The burn was solid all the way through. Never got harsh at all, which was great. My lesson, I think, or the lesson to me, from smoking the Maduro Classic, is that sometimes when a company that's been around for a while, like La Gloria Cubana, releases, newer and maybe sexier blends, things that are maybe more exotic, it can be easy to forget about the originals.
Yeah.
And in this case, that would be a mistake with La Gloria, because I'm going to put this cigar in my regular humidor rotation. I enjoyed it that much, especially given the price. It's $5 to $6 each. And I recommend the cigar with a big thumbs up. I'll give it a 5.5 as price to quality. And Ernesto strikes again. Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's take a break, Ian, because I'm ready to start tasting some beer, and I'm very curious about Taco Tuesday. You've tasted it already, but you gotta love the name.
The name's
so
awesome.
We're starting out in a good place.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so we'll be back to do some tasting. Plus, I'll tell you about some of the new cigars that are coming up. And, the website for Famous Smoke Shop?
Yeah.
It's down. I'll tell you why coming up.
Ooh. All right, a couple quick things. Can we get some batteries or a power supply for this?
So groovy. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. This show's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 242, and we are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. It's a great site with shirts for cigar lovers. They start under $20.
Super
They've got,
comfy cotton.
Great T-shirts for summer, and then for the fall, they've got hoodies and sweatshirts and other cool stuff too. So check them out. They're kind of snarky cigar lover sayings, and they're fun. I think you'll enjoy them. MyCigarShirts.com, because
cigars.
Yes, sir. All right, Ian, there is something going on with Famous Smoke Shop. You may have heard of these guys. They're an actual brick and mortar location called Famous Smoke Shop. They have a store and lounge, but they're probably known to most people because they are, one of the ones that send out catalogs. I get a catalog from them
I get them all the time.
every so often, and I, always enjoy leafing through. Even if I don't order anything, I love leafing through those. It's like cigar porn, you just kind of like, ooh, look at that. That looks good.
I hadn't thought about this one in a while. Look
Famous is down. They were victim of a ransomware attack, according to the company's CEO.
Oh, no.
And they were one of 1,500 businesses that were globally hit by a cyber attack over the 4th of July weekend. They said his company's data has been scrambled by the cyber criminals, who have offered to unscramble it all if they pay a ransom. So I don't know what they'll do, but I feel really bad. And
that
sucks. He hopes actually to have the problem cleared up very shortly. Without his company data, he can't make any sales. So what I would just say is I feel really bad for these guys. And once you notice they are back online, go buy a couple cigars from them.
Yeah.
Just to support them. Because think about it. Think about any business. Unless you're making just money, just hand over fist, being out of business for a week. You know, there were bars that had to close completely down during the pandemic. That's a very difficult thing to come back from. And a lot of them didn't make it, but a lot of businesses, you think about how far in the red you go by just not being able to sell anything for a week.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough. And coming back from pandemic times, these are, you know, so anyway, support the guys at Famous Smoke Shop. I believe their website is FamousSmokeShop.com, and you can go check them out and see if they are back. They were working on getting back. But yeah, that's awful. These these
terrible.
cyber attacks are just that's a very frustrating thing. So welcome back to the show. As I mentioned, we are going to taste some Taco Tuesday, and this is 11 Below Brewing from the greater Houston area. Ian brought this one in. Does it say what the ABV is on this? Because I'm assuming it's not 9.
It's 4.7.
Wow, that's even below 5.
Does that freak you out a little bit?
Only that, not at all, except that it was you that brought it in.
Taco Tuesday is arguably the best day of the week, so it requires the ultra-refreshing margarita-inspired beer to take it to the next level. Poolside, beachside, inside or outside, Taco Tuesday makes every day a party.
Now, I'll just mention this before you open this and I smell it or taste it. I'm a little suspicious of beers that are going for a flavor of some kind of mixed drink. Pina colada beers, I'm not saying there's no good ones. I'm just saying I'm often a little suspicious of them. And margarita beers seem like they can also fall into that category.
Could be a canned Clamato.
Exactly. Yeah,
Michelada with Clamato.
Yeah, it could be something which, again, sounds like some sort of transmissible sexual situation. But I'm a little suspicious of it. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be good, but that's a kind of a hard thing for a beer to do and do well, I think. You know?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna let you try this for yourself and see.
So, how is this something that's relatively new? Did this come out this year?
It's pretty new, as far as I know. I've seen it a couple times, but I decided to pick it up because it's just funny. Also, it has the little recycle symbol and it says "Basura no mames."
Oh, well, there you go.
In other words, don't throw it in the garbage.
Yes,
recycle it.
El Basura no mames.
Yeah, the little taco with the. Mustache,
the mustache
sunglasses
and the sunglasses
is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I do like it. Well, they 11 Below is always actually very creative with their cans. Their canned
and there's a picture of a salt and a lime, so you don't actually have to get one.
Okay. On the nose, it kind of smells like a beer and a margarita. You know what I mean? Like you get a little of that liminess that the margarita would have.
There's a little saltiness to the smell
saltiness,
too.
Yep, but it still kind of smells like a beer. So, all right. So let's see.
I'm so interested to see what's going to happen with this because I have tried this, and well, let's see. He's going in for the second sip. He's making the face. He's making decisions. He's calculating. You can see it happening in his eyes.
I'm not sure.
That was exactly my reaction.
Honest. I'm really not sure. I'm not saying I don't like it, but I almost find myself asking why. You know, what drove them to try this, and you know, maybe just the idea of doing something different. And it certainly is different. I can't think of a single thing to compare it to in the world of beer.
No, it's very unique.
It's incredibly unique. So you got to give them points for that.
It's very unique, and I think that they do capture the margarita in this beer.
They do.
I will say this. So your reaction
needed to be done.
Almost identical to mine.
Interesting.
I did the same thing. I had to do a double take, and then I was completely undecided. I will tell you this, that we should probably just have a little fun, move on from this, let it warm up a little bit, and then try it again, because I think you'll be super surprised at what happens once it warms up a little bit.
You know, it's really interesting because there are some beers, and some spirits, by the way, that as I sip them a little more, it kind of, I don't know whether it just opens up something, you begin to detect more, but there's been some things that at first I've thought were just, okay, and by the time I got, to the end of the glass or the end of the cup or whatever, I'm like, okay, I kind of get it, and then you have a little more, and it's like, all right, this is not bad.
I think what happens, especially with a beer that's this polarizing, I think a lot of times what happens is, first off, it's nothing like what you expect. And they can put margarita inspired, they can put a little salt and lime on there and a little taco, but you're not ready for this.
No.
Like
That's
you're
a good
just
way to
not.
put it.
And it's very different. So I think part of it is you get that knee-jerk reaction of you're reaching for a Coca-Cola and you get a sip of Sprite, And it's not that it's bad, but it's like, what is that? What is happening? So that's the first reaction. The second reaction I think that happens is your palates take some adjustment sometimes. Think about like when we eat spicy food, okay? The first bite of something spicy is always really spicy. And as you eat more of it, you get more acclimated to it. And it's not as spicy by the fourth or fifth bite. So I think your palate sometimes needs acclimated. The first sip of whiskey is like that. The first sip of whiskey can be a little hot sometimes.
Yeah, and can be a little
and a few
jarring.
sips in.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few sips in, you're like, okay, now my palate's a little more adjusted.
Here comes the flavors. Here comes
right,
the exactly.
And I think that right there is a part of what we go through. The other thing is, you're absolutely right. Cold masks certain flavors. So that's why if you're going to drink a lot of the insert macro brew name here, a lot of times you want it ice cold. You want it so cold that you can't taste most of the
because
beer.
you want to enjoy the beeriness of it without really
without
getting
all
down to the flavor.
rice gritty, funky flavors that go in there. And that's also like some beers just don't taste good warm. You don't let a Coors Light sit out and get warm and then enjoy it.
Yeah, that's why those Blue Mountains are such a big deal with those guys.
There's the early detection system.
If those mountains aren't blue,
run away. Danger, Will Robinson.
But I will say, though, two things. Number one, it's probably the salty taste of this, but it does have a little bit of what I call the Doritos effect going on.
Yeah.
Which is it kind of makes you go, I think I'll have another sip.
It does that. This is a clever beer more than anything.
Yeah.
So the initial taste of this doesn't make me go, man, I really want a bunch of this. And you'll notice I'm actually not touching mine right now.
Well, and that was the second thing I was going to say is I'm not sure I'm going to like this better when it warms up.
I think
I may go the other direction.
So what happens is when it's cold, it masks a lot of flavors. A lot. And as it warms up, those flavors are released, especially the darker, warmer flavors in a beer. I'm talking about more like the maltier flavors and things like that. You get a lot more of those things. Just like a frozen margarita and a non-frozen margarita and a warm margarita all slightly taste different. But I think this one benefits a little bit from warming up.
We'll see. One of the things that I would tell you about actual margaritas, and I love a good margarita, but I want it ice cold.
Oh, I get mine frozen.
If it gets a little warm and it feels kind of diluted, it's just so disappointing. You know what I mean?
I get mine frozen.
I want to, if I'm having a margarita on the rocks that's not frozen, I want to make sure that when I empty the glass, there's still a lot of ice there in the glass. If it has a chance to melt into the margarita, it just almost waters down the tequila too much, I
Wiki
guess.
Brian comments, the brewers were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
That could be. I don't think I'm going to like this better as it warms up.
Really?
I think I want it cold if I'm going to have it.
I found this was actually just a little bit warmer, was actually a much nicer beer. It's interesting beer, and the margarita flavors actually come through much bigger when it's warmed up. Now, I find it's drinkable. I find it's good. It's probably not something I reach for all the time, and I do love some of 11 Below's offerings. Their Oso Bueno, I think, is an amazing beer.
Great.
Their Oktoberfest last year,
was quite
man,
good.
I couldn't drink enough of that.
And I got to give them credit for trying to do something that's not your, it's not just another IPA or another blonde ale, although it is a blonde ale. But you know what I'm saying? It's something they really went for something different on, and I give them credit for that.
But I also got to say, I got to give them credit. This is drinkable.
Yes.
It's not outside the realm of drinkable, and it's very different. So, hey, kudos for making a product that is that different and drinkable. Yeah, see, warming up a little bit, now some of the sweetness comes out. It just tastes a little bit better to me.
It's really quite good.
It's weird
until it's not.
Because your first reaction is, I don't know about that.
Yeah, and I still kind of feel that way, but yet at the same time, I find that I'm enjoying drinking it. You know what I mean? I know that seems like a total contradiction, but that's the interesting nature of this beer, is that it would be easy for me to go, yeah, no, this isn't for me. And yet I find that I keep reaching for it and taking another
So
sip.
it has that the ice is melted in my soft drink after I finish my soft drink kind of thing, you know?
And that's what I think the coldness masks a little bit. That's why I like it better, I think, cold.
See, and mine's warmed up a little bit. I like it better now. Because I like those warmer, like you get a little more of that lime pulp kind of flavor to it instead of just like a lime squirt flavor.
So I'm gonna we're gonna keep talking about beer here, but I'm change it up just a little bit and ask you a question because I discovered this is kind of true for me.
I was young, I needed the money.
Yes, okay, and it's important that you admit that. No, I've discovered that something that's true for me is when I hear about another celebrity beer or a celebrity spirit of some kind, a tequila or a whiskey or whatever. I have a tendency to think, oh, man, really? Did we need that? Unless it's an artist
say
or
what you want,
somebody
but
that
hops wasn't so bad.
Well, okay. That wasn't where I thought you were going. But no, but there's a good idea. There's a good example of how it's easy to like go, yeah, we didn't need that, right?
Yeah.
But then when somebody comes along that you're like, well, I really kind of like that band, or I really like that artist, or Metallica's Blackened whiskey. I mean,
it's good whiskey.
Make all the fun of them you want. That's a good whiskey, and Dave Pickerel did them right. I mean, they did it the right way by finding somebody who really knew whiskey and not just slapping their name on a product. So anyway, there's something coming out, and I kind of want to make fun of it, but I can't because I really want to taste it. Knucklebones Brewing and Calicraft Brewing Company are doing a tap room release event in the San Francisco Bay Area the weekend of the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of this month at the Calicraft headquarters and tap room. If you're in the California area, Mitchell Drive, Walnut Creek, California is where it is located. They are going to be releasing AC/DC beers.
Oh, man, I wish I had my ukulele.
Yeah. Well, what would you be doing? Back in Black?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That seems to be probably the easiest ukulele version that you could do. So Knucklebones and Calicraft have announced their plans to launch a new music-branded beverage with two AC/DC officially licensed beers. It's AC/DC Power Up. That's PWR and then UP, Juicy IPA, and the AC/DC TNT Double IPA. So
nice.
these are new brews that are coming, and they've actually done it right because, and maybe I'll just see if I can enlarge that picture enough to show it to the camera here. But these cans look like AC/DC, as you can see there. And I'll turn this around and show it to you, Ian. But as you can see, those look like AC/DC.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
Yeah. So
taking the cue from Iron Maiden, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And Robertson's Brewing, which by the way, all of the Iron Maiden beers are worthy. They're good.
Yeah. Well, it's there's something about maybe the harder bands that they have they've got to hold on to just a little more cred. Like they can't just. It's not just like a pop sellout thing. They gotta make sure their fans don't go, you're selling out. And so the quality's got to be there,
Yeah.
If Ariana Grande did a beer and it wasn't that good, you just go, yeah, whatever, she's a pop star. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't hold her to the same standard. But if AC/DC is going to put their name on a beer, it's like their fans are going to give them a tough time if it's not good.
Has been doing the same thing since they started, and they absolutely rock at it.
Yes, I remember. I read once that the Rolling Stone review of AC/DC's first album called it a low point in the history of rock and roll, which just goes to show you sometimes things age well. AC/DC definitely aged well. But anyway, if you are in the California area, look for these, and I think we're going to actually try to get someone from Knucklebones or Calicraft on the show, maybe via Skype, just to tell us how did they get hooked up with AC/DC.
Yeah,
to
right.
me, that's usually if it's a brewer, we'd like to have them in so we can taste, but in this case. if they got an AC/DC connection, we can check them out. We can check them out.
Well, yeah. So it's tough. It's tough with the celebrity connections because sometimes they're good, but most of the times it's just a marketing ploy.
Hops.
Yeah, it's drinkable.
And like Conor McGregor's whiskey, which he sold for like bazillions of dollars. That's crazy. But he lost. I don't know if you follow fights at all. I don't really, but I couldn't miss the headlines. I guess he broke his leg and lost horribly in the UFC fight over the weekend.
Oh no!
Yeah, so
I hadn't kept up with it.
There's actually quite a bit of ridicule of him on the web.
Oh wow!
Because he was he wasn't all that competitive apparently. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So if you're into dumping on Conor McGregor, you might enjoy.
Well, as a fighter, I can't. You can't dump on him. As a whiskey. That's not good.
That just really wasn't good. All right, I tell you what, we're going to take a break, and we will return with Wilmington Brewing Company's Kitten Biscuit.
Kitten Biscuit.
It's an IPA, New England style. They're from Wilmington, North Carolina. And I don't believe we've had any of their beers on here.
I don't think
before,
so
this will be a first. So that's going to be coming up. Plus, we're only a couple of segments away from drinking news. And we'll be talking to you about the best rums in the world. Coming up.
Best rums in the world.
Smoking and Toasting.
Right now.
That was almost like added percussion, wasn't it? Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. It's the radio show, podcast, and video extravaganza that is all about fine spirits, craft beer, and hand-rolled cigars. Today's show number 242. We're talking about the best rums in the world. And, as much as I love having great guests, and we have had some great guests, it's kind of fun to just be able to goof around with you on a show again. We haven't done this in a while.
We haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, so this is going to be a lot of fun. We want to taste an IPA that comes to us from Wilmington Brewing in Wilmington, North Carolina, and it is called Kitten Biscuit. And I found two possible explanations on the web for Kitten Biscuit.
Kitten Biscuit?
Yeah, one is there's actually you can actually buy treats for your cat called Kitten Biscuits.
Okay.
So that makes some sense, right? But another is when, and I always called it making donuts. But some people apparently call it making biscuits when cats do
when they're kneading.
The kneading thing. So Kitten Biscuit may be the kneading of a cat. So that may be the inspiration. That was a very juicy opening there.
It was. It had a gurgle to it.
For a New England IPA. It'll be interesting to see.
just point in fact, it's not biscuits made of kittens.
Right.
That is vastly different.
And that's a good thing to note, yeah. Oh, this is a nice, almost orange looking.
Man, this is pouring out thick like orange juice,
yeah, it sure is. A lot of viscosity.
It's like
there,
almost neon.
Yeah, it really is. That's a very bright neon color. I've seen some orange juice that is this color. I don't know if the color this reminds me. Do you ever get one of those little bitty cans of orange juice, the little tiny thing?
Yeah, the little concentrate.
And you pull the little thing off the little tab thing off the top, and you pour it in. They have a tendency to be that color for whatever it's worth. So, Kitten Biscuit
says pale malt, wheat, oats, lactose, and
so it's got some lactose in it. Interesting.
Carapels. I don't know what that means. Bale hops. Something Whirlpool hops, Citra, and Mosaic.
Oh, well, so what they're talking about is where they put the hops in. So they put the hops in a couple of different places. If it's dry hopped, or if it's put in when the mash is in the Whirlpool.
Non-Whirlpool hops, gotcha. Okay, Citra and Mosaic, and then dry hops are Citra and Mosaic. You can definitely smell that.
And I was going to say, I get the flavor of both of those in these, but they work together actually pretty well. So, yeah, pale malt, wheat, oats, lactose, and carapels. This is Yeah, so they had no hops in the boil, Citra and Mosaic in the Whirlpool, and then the Citra and Mosaic dry hops as well.
This has the mouthfeel of that little juice that you were talking about.
It does, doesn't it? It's
and
good.
Very little carbonation at all.
Which I kind of dig, actually. I like this. It's got a sourness to it that some hazy or New England-style IPAs don't have. And by sour, I mean an on-the-tongue sour, kind of like almost like the sour of a grapefruit or a more sour orange. You know what I'm talking about? It's not a berry sour or a Berliner Weiss sort of sour. It's more like on the tongue kind of sour.
It's more of a bitter sour kind of thing.
I kind of dig this. It's not the bitterness, and It's not super hop bitter, but the bitterness kind of keeps it from being as refreshing as other hazies. But the flavor is really interesting. So this doesn't work for you.
This has some things that I like in an IPA. It has some dank. Mm-hmm. And I like dank. It has some...
He speaks highly of you as well, by the way, just so you know.
Back in the 90s, we used to play with a band out of Galveston called The Dank.
Oh, that's a good band name.
It was a good band name.
Yeah, that is a very good band name. And you never know quite what to expect from that, too, which is
right.
good, yeah.
But it has some dankness to it, and it has a malty profile up front. And so if I wrote down what was going on in this on paper, I would immediately like it. But I don't like the way it comes together. It's not hitting my palate in a pleasant
What's
way.
missing for you here?
It's not missing anything. I don't think missing is the problem. I think the way it came together, the parts are in a funny place. Mm-hmm. I think that it mechanically came together weird.
It's not my favorite, but I like it for a difference. One of the things that I've noticed, because I really enjoy hazy and juicy IPAs, and I try a lot of different ones. Usually anytime I see one I haven't tried, I try to buy it and stick it in the fridge and taste it. I appreciate that they got to something a little different here. This doesn't taste like every other one. It's got its sort of own unique profile, and that I think is really cool. But I know what you're talking about. The bitterness keeps it. It does. I understand what you're saying when you say it didn't all come together the way you would want it to.
Yeah, it tastes. It tastes like you had all these great parts, and like I've made meals this way where I had all the ingredients and it just came out.
You had the ingredients right, but the combination just didn't work out like you were hoping.
And this to me, it's just not working on my palate like that. And you know, in my mind, I think this shows all the promise of making a great IPA. It's just not.
Well, I would say that while I like it, and I would definitely polish off the can had I opened this at home. I don't know if this would be something I'd be looking to go out and add to regular rotation.
Yeah, and for me, the more I drink this, the less I want to drink it. It kind of has that opposite effect on me. And as weird as the last beer was, you'd think that this one would be okay, but it's not doing it for me at all.
I was also expecting something very approachable, because they called it Kitten Biscuits, you know? And I don't know how approachable this is.
What's
I think
the
this is more
ABV on this? Did we look at that?
I didn't check. Does it say on the can?
I don't know. Just because your cat has kittens in the oven doesn't make them biscuits.
Okay.
It says right there on the can. It's 8.4%.
Okay. On Untapped, by the way, it's a 4 out of 5. So somebody likes this.
Yeah, and again, just because it doesn't hit my palate right doesn't mean it's not good. It just means it's not good for me.
Yeah. 4 out of 5. Actually, 4.15 out of 5. And that's out of 4,770 ratings. So it's not like it's 5 guys.
Yeah, I mean,
there
are people out there who like American-style barley wines, too. And there's just no telling what people like.
Yep.
There are also people out there who would rate Budweiser at 5. I don't know. No,
this is better than Budweiser. You got to give it
that.
that.
Oh, no, I'm being totally silly now. No, it's just this is not my palate at all.
By the way, if you don't spend any time on Untapped, you totally should, even if it's just to look at the pictures people put up of their beer. You know, I did that a lot during the pandemic.
I have friends who like take a picture of everything they drink.
I've never been one to
put it on Untapped,
post on Untapped, But I enjoyed going on, especially during the pandemic when you couldn't like really get together with friends at bars and stuff. It was fun to go on and look at people who had done that in the past and see their beer glasses kind of sitting next to each other. There's something heartening about that.
Our friend Josh, who's always listening instead of watching, he's one of those like it must go through his phone
and be on
Untapped.
Yeah. I understand. I don't do that myself, but I totally get it. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's tequila time. I understand our resident tequila expert Liliana has checked in on the show notes. So
she did. I'll read that when we come back.
We'll hear from her, and we'll be tasting. Go ahead and hold up that bottle, Ian. This is the Milagro. It is their
special
barrel reserve, select barrel reserve Anejo. Yes, they did. They used to have the really tall bottles.
They used to have the plant on the inside as well. Remember they had the.
I do remember that. All right, so we'll be trying it when we come back. It's smoking and toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. It's the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And my name is Cruze. My co-host is Ian Barry.
Howdy, y'all.
Adam, the producer on the Wheels of Steel. And we are so glad to be hanging out with you guys and talking cigars and talking spirits and talking beers and the people in San Francisco that do the World Spirits Competition. I would say, by the way, that if you're going to get selected as the top spirit in your category and in any of the various awards that do that, this is the one you would want. It's probably the most prestigious of all of them to be named by these guys as the top in your style or category. And they did Rums not too long ago, and I wanted to share with you, they did over 3,000 spirits, including several hundred Rums this last year at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition, and it is the oldest spirits competition in the U.S., dating back to 1980 and the second oldest in the world.
Wow.
So pretty cool. Its judges include some of the leading experts in the different categories. And they judge rum over 5 different categories: best extra aged rum, best flavored rum, best overproof rum, and best white rum, and best dark/gold rum.
Okay.
So those are their categories. So the best in category extra aged rum, believe it or not, and this surprised me, was given to Appleton Estate 8-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Now, Appleton Estate, I will say, I've tried their just sort of their standard straight-up rum, and I found it to be okay. Like, it wasn't bad, but it was more like rum you would use to make cocktails and not
Appleton is a Jamaican.
It's Jamaican,
it?
yes. And then I've tried their, and I don't remember off the top of my head how many years it's aged, but it's more than 8. I want to say it's at least 12. It might be more than that. And I found it to be very good and very distinct. So it's interesting they've chosen the 8-year-old as their winner in the extra aged rum. And one of the things about rum is it's more like tequila and less like whiskey in terms of aging.
Yeah.
You don't have to be, you can be 8 years old and considered to be extra aged in the rum category.
Right.
Whereas 8-year-old as a whiskey, nice, but you're not thinking of that as some really old whiskey, or bourbon.
I believe most rum and tequila, like an aged is a year.
Right.
A lot of times, and then anything over that can be extra aged. I'm sure there's other guidelines to that, but as a general idea about how different it is.
Right, and so Appleton is one of Jamaica's, as you mentioned, famed rum producers. Their estate dates back to 1655, and they've been making rum since 1749.
They know something about it.
Clearly, they've learned a little something along the way. Appleton Estate was a favorite brand of George Washington.
Wow.
So that lets you know a little bit about how long it's been around. He reportedly served it at his inaugural celebration.
Nice.
So that's a kind of a cool thing. All right, so let's see what else they like here. The best in category winner for best flavored rum is Ron Colon Salvadoreno coffee infused rum.
Huh.
So it is produced by Ron Colon Salvadoreno. The name suggests a venerable rum producer somewhere in the Spanish Americas, but the company has deep links to El Salvador, but it's a Dutch company. And they've only been selling rum for a little more than a year. So here they come like bursting onto the scene and win. Now, I'll admit, I don't do a lot of flavored rums. I'll do some spice rums.
Yeah.
And that would be flavored. That'd be as far as I kind of go into the flavor. But I'm intrigued by this coffee-infused rum because it is a...
Not a big fan of spice rums.
Yeah. It just depends on what you drink.
It's not a palate.
Captain Morgan, not so much.
No.
Yeah. The best in category white rum was Hidden Harbor White Rum. It's a collaboration between Hidden Harbor, which is a tiki bar in Pittsburgh. You don't think of Pittsburgh first when you think of rum,
or
right?
tiki bar,
or tiki bars.
Right, nice.
And Allegheny Distilling Company's Maggie's Farm rum.
Okay, and Allegheny is the county around Pittsburgh.
Right.
It's Allegheny County.
Yeah. White rum is an unaged rum. Like most white rums, is typically distilled using a column still. Hidden Harbor was specifically designed to be used in daiquiris and contains a blend of 60% white rum from Maggie's Farm, 20% Queen Share white rum, also from Maggie's Farm, and 10% from Jamaica. And the balance is an assortment of Caribbean white rums from Guyana, Barbados, Martinique, and Trinidad. So at least they did, they did some blending here, and came up with something. I have not tried this, but I'd love to get my hands on it. My favorite, I have two kind of favorites in the white rum category. One is a Grateful Dane, who's one of our first guests on the show, and the other is I really like the Flor de Caña white rum.
Yeah.
It's just very good for me.
We need to reach out to Ian and see how he's doing nowadays.
Yes, we haven't had him on the show. We've had him on the show a couple of times, but both of them have been a long time ago.
Yeah. And
he's got aged drums by now.
Just turning off the freeway from my house for a matter of quite a few months was a Grateful Dane billboard.
That's so cool.
Just made me smile.
I still occasionally wear the shirt he gave me that says Rum HTX, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. All right, so. Let me see. I think I missed. Oh, best in category for dark/gold rum. They gave to the Zaya Grand Reserva rum, which is produced in Trinidad and Tobago by Trinidad Distillers Limited for Infinitum Spirits. Dark rums usually obtain their color from contact with the barrel wood, and that color can be enhanced or duplicated by using caramel. But the rum does not carry an age statement. It's a blend of molasses-based rums that have been distilled using a 5-column continuous still and that are at least 12 years old. I've had the Zaya Grand Reserva. In fact, we've had it here on the show, and it was spectacular.
Yeah.
Was really, really good. So those are your winners from the International Spirits Competition. I did do my own, just for fun, little list of rums, and you said you might come up with one out of your head. Do you want to go first?
I will. Well, so let me just pull some right out of my brain because I didn't know we were doing a list of that.
I should have let you know. But,
you should have.
I just thought of it kind of last minute and jotted down.
Go-to rum.
Yep.
I bought a bottle that I went out and purchased it myself because no one else would.
Yes.
I bought a bottle of that Isle of Fiji rum.
From Plantation.
That has become kind of the go-to. Like if I'm reaching randomly for a bottle of rum, that is definitely where I'm going. I love the Plantation stuff, and Doc's is so fun anyway, so we have that connection with them, which makes it also good. White rum. I don't know that I have a lot of opinions because I don't do a lot of white rum, but I would have to say, the Grateful Dane, and I'm out of it at the moment, the Grateful Dane, and then I don't know that I tried a whole bunch of other ones. As far as the older...
What was the one? You got one that was in a really tall bottle. And when we were doing the show during COVID...
Macambo.
You loved that, I remember.
It was good. Yeah, Macambo was really good.
It was in that really artsy-looking, funky bottle.
Yes. Yeah, that was really good. That was the Macambo. That was one that was gifted to me from my brother-in-law. Then, let's see... the Florida Cognac 25.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
How could you go wrong, right?
It's so good.
Well, that makes my list, too. My top rums, not necessarily in order. The Plantation Single Cask Jamaica.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. That rum is just so incredibly luxurious and delicious. The Ron Zacapa XO aged rum, which we've also had here on the show. That is just
also
spectacular.
Not particularly
juice.
expensive.
And you mentioned the Florida Cognac 25 year. Honestly,
particularly
Ian,
expensive.
It is expensive, but their 18 is wonderful at about $45, $46.
Yeah.
This is the 25 is much more expensive, but to me, it's one of the things that falls into that super special occasion. This looks like I kind of treat it like I treat Reserva de la Familia tequila.
Right.
You know, I only pull it out when there's something really special to toast to.
Special occasion
and mine is empty, so it's about
treat.
time. It's about time to invest. They were so nice. They gave all of us an engraved bottle of it after they were on the show.
Yeah. So that means when you go buy your new one, you have to pour it into the.
I totally will do that. I totally will do that. As I do now, I go buy the big bottle when I'm doing vodka. I go buy the big bottle of Space City vodka, and I have a small bottle which doesn't take up as much room in the freezer, and I fill the small bottle from the big one and stick it in the freezer. Yeah. For me, best spiced rum or best flavored rum, I would go with Kraken. Kraken.
Oh, I forget about Kraken.
Kraken, I still really enjoy.
That.
I actually almost always have some. It's not something I drink nearly as often as I used to, but it is something that is particularly good with Dr. Pepper.
And just a failing on my part, yeah, Kraken and Dr. Pepper is amazing. Kraken blends well with a lot of things.
Yeah, it really
like
does.
That.
And their spicing is not overdone.
By itself in a long time.
Their spicing is not overdone. And I had some actually recently and was reminded, this is actually quite good. It kind of got replaced. It used to be my kind of everyday go-to for rum, and it kind of got replaced by some others. In fact, it got replaced most recently by Plantation's Isle of Fiji, which you mentioned, and we still do a lot of the Plantation pineapple at our house as well. But before we kind of got into those, Kraken was sort of the everyday thing, and I hadn't had any in a while, and I had some recently, and you know what? It's quite good. It's quite good. I'm pretty impressed. So release the Kraken, please do.
I forgot about Kraken completely. Kraken's all right, and I, as much as I'm not a big spice rum fan, that's
worth
one of my
going
brother
to.
turned me on to.
Yeah, it's worth going to if you want to do some spice.
Liliana Rodriguez says, "Guys, I will be tasting Leyenda del Milagro Reposado along with you. I have it in my tequila shrine along with the silver and another Reposado from the same distillery."
Well, let's just pause for a moment. She has it in her tequila shrine.
In her tequila shrine.
It's a shrine. She actually wrote the word shrine. I love you, Liliana. You are the greatest ever.
She's pretty amazing.
That is just so good. Anyway, not her tequila cabinet, not her tequila bar, not her tequila display, her tequila shrine. You are the greatest guest we've ever had. I just want to say that.
Right. She said, along with a silver and another Reposado from the same distillery, it's a beautiful bottle with an agave partially barbed so that the core or piña can be seen. It is sealed, but with the years, it is evaporated somehow. It is old, I guess. I saw the taxes I paid when I crossed the border with it, and I only paid $1. The cork was so dry it crumbled. From now on, I'll have to keep the bottles horizontally.
Yeah. Well, Liliana actually talked about this when she was on the show that, over time, your bottles of spirits, are going to lose the intensity of their flavor, and things like the corks and stuff. You can have issues with
I've
the
had
corks
corks
and
that
stuff.
dried out.
So
and crumble.
so drink your booze, people.
Drink your booze.
Yeah.
You can only keep it so long.
That's right. Drink your booze.
A couple other funny things before we taste this. Bruce Stark says, I heard if you're from Texas, then Dr. Pepper is actually its own food group.
It is. That is absolutely true.
There's a bit of that.
People in other states don't seem to have the same appreciation for it as Texans, but yeah, it's a big deal here in Texas.
His other question was, he says, I figured I'd go to the experts. Someone said that Crown Royal is a rye. Never heard that before. True. And Brian answers that Crown Royal is a rye, and yes, Dr. Pepper is a food group.
Thank you for the answers to both of those questions. Yeah, Crown Royal is a rye.
And then Bruce comes back with the snarky. The 3 best things about smoking and toasting: Son of Twirligig, Liliana, and only 2.
Only 2, yes. He's right on the money there. Well, I got to tell you, I'm loving this on the nose. Because
it smells beautiful, like agave and buttery.
I was going to say it's got more agave on the nose than a lot of añejos do.
Yeah.
A lot of añejos, by the time you get the aging, what you wind up with on the nose is more like the sort of maple and oakiness and bits of a sort of a vanilla. But this, you get a little bit of that, but you also get some solid agave.
Buttery caramel.
Buttery caramel, yes. Buttery caramel and agave is the way to describe the nose.
There's a little
this.
saltiness on the nose. There's a little oak in the background on it.
Mm. So it's
mostly buttery caramel.
So it's really interesting that because as you can tell, Ian, I did go to the trouble to take as you noticed, the plastic off and make sure that some of this was taken out of the bottle so that it would pour nice and easily for the show today. But what I'm going to tell you is that when I tasted this before, my initial reaction was a little bit different than what I'm getting right now. So I don't know if it's the Taco Tuesday and the other things that we've had.
It's probably being around me. I make everything a little better.
Well, I'm getting a little more of that toasty butteriness than I did the last time. The last time I tasted this, my first impression was, wow, lots of agave for an añejo, which is not a bad thing. But a lot of times, by the time you get to the aging of agave of añejo, the other flavors kind of overpower the agave a little bit, and there's a sort of a richness to it. This, my initial thought was, tasted more like a more traditional tequila, like a really, really good reposado. But now, I'm really getting that sort of buttery, that butteriness that you talked about.
Caramel, like a
flavors
kind of thing.
Yeah, really a lot of that coming through. What's your take?
So a couple things, just observations about this. First off, it's peppery.
Mm-hmm.
It is very peppery, and in the best way possible. But the pepper, it's so peppery. It's like, have you ever had something that's been peppered enough to where it actually has heat from the peppers?
Yes.
Like a spicy heat from the peppers. Yes. So it's a little bit like that. It has a little bit of that spicy heat, which happens just about the second third of the flavor going past.
I remember when I was staying out in L.A., when I was just kind of setting up for my month there, I went to the, they sell liquor in the convenience and like the CVS stores there. And I remember I went in and I saw this display of Hornitos Añejo at $19.99 a bottle.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I've had Hornitos in like mixed drinks and stuff. I don't think I've ever had their Añejo. So I bought the bottle and I wound up drinking the whole thing while I was there, but it was so peppery.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of that on a much smaller scale. Yeah. It's got a little bit of that just super bright, strong pepperiness, but there's so many other flavors kind of intertwined with it that it doesn't take over.
It's interesting because the initial impact on the palate is sweet and vanilla and caramel. And then there's a great little butteriness. And then as you start to swallow, that pepper hits, bam, and just spreads through the palate. And then after you swallow, that pepper leaves just a little linger, just enough to know that you had a little heat there, but not in any unpleasant way. This is delicious.
It really is good.
This is fantastic, and I love the way it finishes the palate and leaves just a lingering, delicious pepper. Now, I will tell you that because of, I think, the way the pepper sits in this, you'd have to be very selective on the cigar that you chose if you're going to have it.
Yes, I agree, because there's a lot of pepperiness here, and you would want something that's not going to just bowl over.
Yeah, but if you went with something a little more campfire, a little more barnyard, I think that would actually really go well with it. So something like a Perdomo,
a Lot 23, maybe,
a Lot 23, or the what's the other one I'm thinking of? Is the Rocky Patel Cameroon.
Yes, that has a bit of that Cameroon spiciness to it to sort of stand up to this pepper.
Right.
Yeah, agreed. Has Liliana chimed in with her thoughts about the reposado?
Not yet, but
right.
Wiki Brian was laughing about the OnStark. He said, "Oh, it's on Snark now."
On Snark, yeah, that does work. Liliana, if you're there and tasting the Reposado, we'd love to know what you think of it and where your expert tequila recommendation comes down. I remember buying a bottle of this years ago, back when it was the tall bottle, and I don't remember being as crazy. I guess what I'm saying is, I feel like I like it more now than I did back then. That might have to do with just the sort of expansion and change of palate. But I'm appreciating the agave. I'm appreciating the sort of texturing of the flavors, and I'm appreciating the sort of pure tequila taste of it. Is that a note?
And
from
here
Liliana?
we are for the Liliana report. Here's my report on the Milagro Reposado. Natural golden straw color, nose is clean agave with notes of caramel, but I can also detect some whiskey scent. Taste is clean agave, slight spice, finish. Oh. Sorry, it popped up with a whole lot more there. Slight spice finish, delicious, aged 2 to 4 months in American oak barrels. Won a silver medal in 2019 San Francisco World Spirits Award. In October 2020, the original distillery of San Isidro.
San Isidro.
From Tepetitlan. Tepetitlan, thank you. I'm so bad about that. Jalisco was purchased by a Scottish group, William and Grant and Sons.
Oh,
William Grant and Sons. Yeah. So
okay.
So I didn't know William.
So,
that was
yeah.
a William Grant.
Well,
thing.
it's a very good tequila, and it would be interesting actually to taste the Reposado side by side with it. But I feel like this is a well established brand. Clearly, it was if William Grant and Sons bought it, and it's got it's got some serious tequila going on here.
This makes me want to sit outside with my chimenea when it's just a little chilly out there. You know, it's that kind of warm,
it's only
deliciousness.
midsummer, and you're already longing for fall, my friend.
It's pretty hot here in Texas.
I'd just like to point out the quality of the people we have that listen to and contribute to this show. Liliana gave her review just blew mine away.
Right.
You know, it's just like,
and she's just like, man, it's just a comment.
She so knows what she's doing. It's just wonderful to be associated with her. All right. Well, I'm going to enjoy sipping a little more of this as we go into the break. When we come back, it's time for what has, for reasons I can't fully explain, actually become one of the most popular segments on our show. It's time for Drinking News.
Drinking News.
And we'll get to that when we return. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back, my friends. It is Smoking and Toasting. This program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by the fine folks at mycigarshirts.com. Great shirts on the web. For cigar lovers, go check them out and support them because they support us, mycigarshirts.com, because...
Cigars.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us. We mentioned, actually, we didn't mention yet, but I will mention it now, that our special guest on the show next week is Keith Taylor from Long Drink. And this was someone who was recommended to us to have on the show by our friend and our cocktail expert, Chris Morris. And so I don't know exactly what Long Drink is all about.
Long Drink, I think, is a Swedish drink.
Yeah.
But now they offer it in a can.
Oh.
And,
Can cocktail thing is becoming a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my wife adores it. I think it's nice. It's a nice drink. My wife adores it. So it'd be interesting to see and try different flavors of it.
And as I think you know, any good friend of Chris Morris's is a good friend of ours. And speaking of Chris Morris, one of the things we have not done nearly often enough on the program, not necessarily have him on. We've probably done that more than we should. But he will actually be returning very soon too. But Chris Morris was kind enough or drunk enough to put together for us. Why, thank you, sir. I'll have another. He was kind enough or drunk enough to put together for us an intro for Drinking News. We haven't played that in a while, so I think we should today, ladies and gentlemen, introducing our extremely popular Drinking News segment, Mr. Chris Morris.
There's a podcast all about been known around the world is drinking news. It's drinking news. It's what I love. Me and a Florida man and a bottle of rum. I'll pour another round. What do we got to lose? Let me tell you a story, swear to God it's true. Well, a night on the town, we took a turn to the south. When I started drinking that whiskey and running my mouth,
I think we all know that feeling.
I belly up to the bar, another round or two. That's when the gambler said, I got a bet for you. He gave us 7 to 1. You know we couldn't lose. So me and a Florida man fought a kangaroo. We went a couple of rounds. It beat us black and blue.
Of course it did.
Lord, I hope we don't wind up on drinking news. On drinking news. On drinking news. Mama, I hope I don't wind up on drinking news.
Chris Morris, ladies and gentlemen, and that's just so good. I'm really glad that we did it today, because I don't know how good today's drinking news story is. You know, some of these are better than others, but at least we had the enjoyable drinking news theme song from Chris Morris. Mama, I hope I don't wind up on drinking news. A Florida man
Oh, here it goes.
caused a bit of a disturbance at a McDonald's restaurant after he had told a police officer what he intended to do and was warned by the cop to stay the hell away from McDonald's. 62-year-old John Francis Morgan had told a Collier County Sheriff's Office deputy that he planned to go to a particular McDonald's in Naples and was told by the officer to stay away from the fast food joint because he'd been banned from the restaurant over a previous incident where he removed his clothes and caused a bit of a disturbance. Morgan,
Hey, sometimes it's hot in a McDonald's.
Morgan apparently did not heed the warning, and he showed up the next day at McDonald's, where he once again got naked and performed what the arresting officer described as a very strange dance while singing a song. Officers responded to a call of a white male wearing white shorts, taking his clothes off and dancing, according to the arrest report. Police and at least one witness who observed the dance said that it appeared that Morgan was, quote, and I'm reading this word for word here, trying to have relations with a railing in the restaurant, end quote. The man apparently has a number of previous arrests, including one the previous month for battery, and others which include breach of peace, several for trespass, and for drinking alcohol in public, and for disorderly intoxication. So, police report does not state what song the man was singing, which only leaves us to speculate.
Maybe he was singing the drinking news song.
Maybe. Some other possibilities might include Ooh, Baby, I Love Your Rail. I think that's a Peter Frampton, isn't it? AC/DC's Railway to Hell. You've heard that one, right? Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Ain't No Railway Long Enough. You know that one, right? A little Motown there. Kiss from a Rail. I think that was Seal that did that.
Right.
Yeah. Or possibly The First Time Ever I Saw Your Rail.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
One thing's for sure, Florida man John Francis Morgan was most definitely going off the rails on his own crazy train. And that, my friends, is your drinking news. Oh, and see, this is what we missed by not having you in the ukulele, because you would do
that's
the
true.
little drinking news outro song.
Well, I promise I won't forget the ukulele next
Well,
week.
it was fun hearing Chris's version, though. That was pretty special.
We probably need to utilize that a little
It was
more.
probably better than the Drinking News story. But you know how hard it is to find a hilarious story every week?
So
There's a lot of like weird news stories. Like I can go on the web and find all
Weird.
kinds of crazy weird. But then some of them are like just kind of like ew, like not the kind of weird that's
don't
funny,
really wanna think
the
about
kind
it.
that you really don't want to think about, right? Or some of them involve like
what? So this guy already talked to a police. He was talking to a police officer and
Yeah.
told him what he was going to do.
Yeah, so apparently he'd been in trouble in this particular McDonald's before, and he was talking to a police officer, told him he was going back there. The officer said, I wouldn't do that if I were you, but he did it anyway, and this is when he and the rail became intimate.
Why was he talking to a police officer?
I don't know. Well, who knows? It's
I mean,
Florida. It's Florida. It's Florida. Yeah?
I mean, Tom Petty's from Florida, and he is awesome.
Well, there's lots of awesome people in Florida. My friend Dave lives in Tampa. He's awesome. I love him. But yeah, he's not getting into the same situations as the typical Florida man. By the way, we are in the middle, or maybe at the beginning, or close to the beginning, of another little cigar boomlet. Remember the cigar boom from back in the 90s when
The
cigars...
cigar boomlet.
Yeah, when cigars became the thing. Well, in April of 2021, cigar imports into the United States rose 133%. We're in the middle of another little miniature boom
133% from when?
from April of the previous year.
But cigar imports went down because of COVID, right?
Actually, no, they went up.
I thought it was hard to get some of those.
Well, there were some certain things that made it hard because of factories and stuff, but actual cigar consumption went up.
Okay,
And so there was a rush to import whatever
Whatever you
stores
have left,
could,
yeah.
right, in order to meet the demand. They say the performance was impressive, but somewhat expected. April 2020 was a troubled month for the world, as you point out, and the cigar industry was a part of that. Shipments were impacted by the pandemic, but April 2021 was bound to be stronger, but now they say it was a strong month by any standards.
Nice.
Something that becomes really evident when compared to April 2019 before COVID, and there's a 20% increase from April 2019.
Oh, wow.
So people are ordering, smoking, buying more cigars, and it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
I think.
My philosophy about cigars, cigar good.
Cigar, yeah, and I love how nuanced that is.
It says a lot with two
It
words.
really does kind of pull it all together.
See, that
does
needs
it
to
not?
be a shirt. Cigar
Good. I like that. Maybe that's mycigarshirts.com people will do that. I like that with just like maybe a little imprint of a cigar.
Just a
along the
little
bottom.
bit right here.
Yeah,
Just says
cigar
cigar
good.
good. That's it. Like, it doesn't need to be anything big. That'd be awesome.
I saw, what was it? I saw something on the web this last week. It was a shirt somebody had done, and I thought mycigarshirts.com should go for this as well. But it was a shirt that had it was like a pullover shirt, but it had a pocket kind of like this, like a breast pocket, and on the pocket it said "Cigars go here," which I thought was awesome.
Steal it.
Yeah, I thought
We
was
need to
awesome.
steal that.
Totally need to take that. That's good stuff. All right, it is bottle opening time. You do that so well.
That's for real sounds right there. I'm
It's
going to need a couple
almost,
of those.
It's almost as if you have done this before, as if you have some sort of practice, some sort of previously obtained skill at opening these bottles and pouring them into cups and glasses.
You don't get good at stuff if you don't practice.
Yeah,
and
that's
my
important.
college years were formative. I had to do a lot of things to get good at life.
Practice makes perfect, as they say.
And that was one of those things that I worked on very, very hard.
So, Ian, I am a fan of Founders, both for their things like their breakfast stout and for things like their IPAs that I really enjoy. The Founders All Day IPA to this day is my favorite sessionable lower calorie IPA. What can you tell us about this? Is there any info on the bottle for this bottle series?
It says Barleywine-Style ale brewed with roasted malts, so you know it's going to be delicious. It also says Founders Brewing Company, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Says, according to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcoholic beverages during pregnancy because of the risk of birth defects.
You know we can't get through a show without you reading that.
It says, what's your nemesis? This is...
there we go.
Ours is a Barleywine-Style ale brewed with roasted malts and no shortage of hops for a pleasantly bitter, booming flavor. Pouring with a slight and subtle mahogany hue, and a multitude of flavors that melt on your tongue. This is one nemesis you'll feel good about keeping around.
So I'm a little worried from that description that this might be too hoppy for you. You're a
more
big
American style.
You're a big
it's funny because it's
opponent.
not that nosy.
You're a big opponent of hoppy barley wines.
Hoppy barley wines just don't do it for me.
Yeah.
However, the way you use hops matters.
Yes.
Hop as a bittering agent is a very good thing in any kind of malty beer.
It's really what more than almost any other ingredient.
Hop.
It's what differs one beer from another.
Hop as a primary flavor in a barley wine is not good.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. And I actually agree with you. If I want a barley wine, I'm looking for the maltiness and the dried fruit. I'm not looking for a hoppier
I get
barley
roasted
wine.
malt on the nose. I'm not getting a ton of
for
hops.
sure. Roasted malt, even a little coffee on the nose.
Yep. All right. So this right here has hop bitter.
Yeah,
but
it does.
not a ton of hop flavor.
Well, it's got a little hop bitter on the finish that almost finishes like a bitter coffee. Like you ever drink like a really bitter black coffee that's got that sort of lasting bitter that it
only
leaves?
drink black coffee.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about then. But it comes across to me more like that than it does a bitter hops.
Yeah, so you can tell that it's hops, but it's not a hop flavor up front. So it's not like Bigfoot Ale that has a bright hoppy finish to it in a barley wine ale, which is confusing to me.
Right. But it's also not that deeply viscous, almost chewy, chunky barley wine type vibe. It drinks more like a standard ale.
This is riding the line.
Yeah.
It's definitely riding the line.
And so how does that hit you, given what we know about you and what you like about barley wines?
I like barley wines to be big and sticky. And this is less sticky than I like a barley wine to be, but it's still a nice beer.
Yeah.
So I can't fault them on that. The hop is very bitter on the tail end, but it's not a huge hoppy flavor.
It's not pine coney bitter.
It's not pine coney bitter. It's astringent though.
Yes,
It's
is.
definitely.
Well, it's like the coffee that I talked about. That's what it really reminds me of is a very bitter black coffee. It's kind of delicious.
It's nice enough. I like it. Okay, I'm not going to rush out and buy this, but it's nice enough. I think splitting a bottle is the right thing to do with this because it's interesting.
It's 11.2%.
It's a different take on a barley wine,
Right. And so it makes sense that this is one of their, limited series.
Flying Dog years ago. Pardon me. Flying Dog years ago made a barley wine called Horn Dog that was one of my absolute favorites. And it was big and ridiculous and sticky. Like you could use it to put things together. If it dried on your shoe, you might not be able to walk away.
If you needed to lay brick and you'd run out of mortar.
Mortar.
Yeah.
And this is not that.
No,
But
it's definitely not that.
it's a drinkable thing. It's not my favorite thing. It's a little too Americanized with the hops, but it's not bad. It's not.
It was one of the reasons I was so excited actually about opening this and having you try it, because knowing how particular you are about what you like in barley wines and knowing how much I generally trust Founders as a brewery, it was going to be interesting to see.
I think what they went
did.
for was an American style barley wine. I think that they probably hit the mark, and they hit it in a way that makes it still palatable to me because it's just too much hops in a barley wine.
Well, that's
to me.
actually
It's just
saying
not good.
something. because generally speaking, you don't like American barley wines that much at all.
No, I'm just not a fan.
So maybe Founders has made one that you like a little better than other American style barley wines.
It's to me an American style barley wine that's too hoppy is kind of like getting a nice classic peanut butter and jelly sandwich that someone sticks some sardines into.
Oh, that's a really picturesque.
You know what I mean?
Taste,
it's like it looks good on the outside, and then you bite into it, and you're like, "What?"
Yeah.
And you might like sardines, but
yeah, I do.
Not in a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I get it. I totally do.
That's the gentle way of putting it. I have a better way of putting that, but so yeah, it's drinkable. It's not my favorite barley wine, and I love Founders to death, man. They make so many good beers. I mean, Founders could just be in my wheelhouse for the next many years as long as they keep making their porter and their dirty bastard, and their backwoods bastard, and they keep making those things, and that's all I really care about. And I love that they stretch out and do stuff like this. I would love to see them do a traditional barley wine with less hops and make it just sticky and ridiculous. And that would make me happy.
You almost think of those. You ever get those cinnamon rolls or cinnamon sticky buns that are just too sticky? Like that's the kind of barley wine that you like.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's just where it just gets all over you.
Right. If it comes out of there looking like maple syrup, it's pretty close to what I like.
All right. Real quick, we're going to share with you some of the 22 best gifts to get for a beer lover. Since Ian, my birthday will be coming up in a couple of months, and
my prediction is number one is going to be beer.
Yes, I think that goes without saying. At Ulta Beauty Supply stores, your wife drags you into one of those because she's looking for stuff that she needs to buy in there. Ask about their big ass beer soap from Duke Cannon. They say it's not just a marketing stunt. Beer is actually good for your skin, and even if it's not, at least you still smell good. So,
well, I've spilled enough beer on myself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's the Rumple beer blanket at rumple.com. Most koozies are like whatever, but Rumple has raised the bar with its superior camp blanket turned into a koozie. So
camp blanket turned into a koozie.
So you have to find that. You have to find that and check it out. Kickerland has for $12 on Amazon a vintage copper bottle opener, and I'll just show you this, Ian, so you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's beautiful.
The vintage copper bottle opener. I'll see if I can show that to the camera too. There it is. All right. Yeah, that is as old school as a bottle opener gets, isn't it? Yeah, I kind of
without just being a church key.
Yeah, I kind of dig that. Teku glasses. The Teku beer glass is royalty. Its stemmed construction prevents you from warming up your beer, and the thin curved lip makes for a smooth and easy sip. I love this. $15 at Bed Bath & Beyond, Ian. I'm going to expect one of these for my birthday. The shower beer holder.
The shower beer holder.
Yep. Beer
I
in
love
the shower.
Blood Bath & Beyond. It's a beautiful place.
The ultimate chill-out combo.
Me and my friend, when we were roommates back in the day, me and my friend Art used to just refer to it as Blood Bath & Beyond because it sounded a little more manly than we're going shopping at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah, Blood Bath & Beyond. I like that. By the way, you mentioned that beer would be on the list, and it is. Three Floyd's Zombie Dust.
Oh, yeah. Zombie Dust
made
is
the
good
list.
beer.
They say Three Floyd's recently expanded distribution in Zombie Dust is arguably one of the best craft pale ales out there. There's the Hop Solator Trio. Ain't nothing worse than warm beer, they say. The Hop Solator is a koozie for standard 12-ounce cans, as well as tall boys. It even does triple duty by acting as a tumbler. There's the Beer Fizzle Square Coaster Felt 4-pack, which looks pretty cool. There's the Huckberry X Coors Banquet corduroy hat. You can wear that if you want. I won't. There's Beer Map USA.
The Coors Banquet corduroy hat.
It's the just a
is it
corduroy
cold
hat
activated
with a Coors logo on it. Yeah, I guess the Coors logo turns blue if it's cold. I don't know. The Beer Cap Map USA. Every state has at least one brewery you need to try, and with the Bottle Cap Map, you have more of an excuse to do a cross-country brewery crawl.
Nice.
You put the bottle caps in.
So my sister's boyfriend sent me a link to an app. What's it called? This is something we should talk about for just a second if you got one.
Please do.
It's called, I have it on here, it's called Texas Brew Passport. So if you live in Texas, you can open this up, and wherever you are, Texas Brewery Passport, and wherever you are, it will search your location, and all the breweries around you will come up.
Oh, so that's cool. Now, if you want a more old school version of that, there's a book at Barnes & Noble, $30, called Where to Drink Beer. The subtitle is Foam is Where the Heart Is, and it lists over 1,600 places to drink beer recommended by beer experts, showing that there's no shortage of watering holes to explore around the country. There is. I'm not going to do every other thing that's on this list, but I will share this one with you because you might want to get this. Michael Jackson, not the
beer
guy, the beer guy.
Right.
His Great Beers of Belgium is his latest book. He is arguably responsible for sparking the craft beer movement in America. His books are a must on any beer lover's shelf, and this is his guide to Belgium's great beers, published back in 2008, but still extremely relevant today.
Still relevant, yeah.
So I didn't go through all 22, but there are some good gifts for beer lovers.
Nice.
So, yeah. And, of course, number one on the list for me,
beer.
Yeah. We'll be right back with our final segment. Thank you for joining us today. Smokin' and Toastin' is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We'll be back to wrap up the show and a little preview of next week coming up. Welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. This program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Speaking of cigars, some new ones to watch for. Nestor Plasencia is putting his family's Honduran tobacco on full display with a new brand called Plasencia Cosecha 149. It is named after the Plasencia's 149th harvest, which happened back in 2014. Now that tobacco has been aging for 7 years, and the Plasencias have turned it into a three-size line currently being previewed at the PCA trade show in Las Vegas, and coming soon to your favorite smoke shop, consisting solely of Honduran tobacco.
Okay.
And we really enjoyed some Honduran puros when we were in Honduras at the Aladino farm. But this is solely Honduran tobacco. It's the Plasencia Cosecha 149 blended with a wrapper from Olancho, San Agustin, a binder from Jamastran, and a mix of filler tobaccos from Jamastran, Talanga, and Olancho. The Jamastran leaf was grown from proprietary Corojo seeds that the company said it developed, while the rest of the tobacco is Criollo. It sounds really spicy to me, and I'm like really excited about trying these. One of the things I loved about the Honduran smokes when we were at Aladino is just how earthy they all were.
Very earthy.
They just had such a this comes from the soil kind of vibe to it, in the very best sort of way. Anyway.
Well, that Aladino Reserva just embodied that.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. And you loved that Lancero, remember?
The Lancero Maduro?
Yeah.
Man, I could not get enough of those.
Ashton Distributors is adding a new line to the La Aroma de Cuba series called the La Aroma de Cuba Pasión. It's a 6-size brand, medium to full in body, and it's rolled by not anybody that knows what they're doing, just My Father Cigars in Nicaragua. And it sports a Cuban seed cover leaf grown under shade. They say it is all about the wrapper, and not the wrapper as in yo-yo, but the wrapper as in the cigar wrapper. And the Garcia family, owners of My Father, have grown this particular wrapper on their 300-acre farm in Nicaragua, about 45 minutes east of Esteli. And be on the lookout for the Aging Room Rare Collection by Rafael Nodal. It's a new brand intended to offer small runs based on the availability of rare and superbly well-aged tobaccos, so says the mission statement. But what makes the tobacco in these upcoming cigars rare? In this case, it's a specific hybrid Cuban seed wrapper grown in Nicaragua by some guy named A.J. Fernandez.
What does that guy know?
Yeah, on his flagship farm. There's also a bit of the Pelo de Oro in the blend, which is tobacco that's grown in super small quantities due to its rare low yield and susceptibility to disease, and it only grows in this one little area near a volcano, and it's super rich. So anyway, be watching for all of those at your favorite cigar store. Ian, you have opened and poured a Lone Star.
Just as a last parting shot, we've
What
never
is
done
going
this. We have never done this. We've never had a Lone Star on the show as a...
So for our listeners and viewers who are not from Texas, Lone Star is to Texas what PBR is to other places.
Yeah.
Except it's actually a better beer.
It's a better beer. than
That's
PBR.
my opinion anyway.
We also have Pearl.
Yeah, and
I
Lone
think
Star's
this is a better beer
Lone
than
Star's
Pearl.
way better than Pearl. Pearl is a fun place to visit if you're in San Antonio. Go visit the Pearl Brewery. There's all kinds of cool stuff down around where that is. It's become like a hipster area in San Antonio. But when you're talking about beer, like if you go to Austin, which is like the hippest place in Texas, supposedly, and you go into a bar to watch a band play or something, you're going to notice they've got on tap all of these super hip craft beers and Lone Star. Yeah, and that's the way it pretty much is.
That's the way
everywhere
it
else.
is. It's ubiquitous in Texas like Yingling is anywhere else.
And you know what? I think it's almost as good as
I think
Yingling.
it stands up. I think
Yeah.
Yingling is a good beer. It's nice though because like Yingling's something we don't get around here, so it's also a different flavor. But Lone Star's something you don't get over there. So
That's true. And Lone Star
if you're in Texas, try a Lone Star.
and it does have the advantage of not being owned by Big Beer.
Lone Star is not the best beer in the world, but it has a beautiful apple crispness to it. It has a great, very basic malt flavor up front.
If you got a choice between this and a Budweiser, this wins
all
hands
day
down.
long. Oh, you know
Yeah,
what?
Hands
Lone
down.
Star's drinkable when it warms up a little bit too. And Budweiser is not.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah. We just hadn't had it on the show. I thought it would be fun. And here's for all you economists out there.
Yeah.
Here's a fun fact. 2 6-packs
Of Lone
of Tall
Star?
Boys
Yeah.
are cheaper than 1 12-pack of 12-ounce cans.
Okay, well, that's
Just
good
so
to
you know.
For the economists in the room.
For the economists in
Yeah,
the room.
that's always good to know.
Do the math.
Well, we've had extra high-end tequila, and we've had Lone Star. I think it rounds out the show pretty well. So
Yeah, and it's way fizzy.
it is, but I like that about it.
But it's also light and crispy.
It totally works.
It's just fine.
Well, Ian, it's been fun just doing a show with you and Adam on the Wheels of Steel today. Next week, however, we will be welcoming in another guest, Keith Taylor with Long Drink. Again, referred to us by our friend Chris Morris, who did the Drinking News theme song that you heard today. So, I have no idea whether we can trust him or not. But you said your wife loves the Long Drink, right?
She does love Long Drink. And when
So-
she met the guy who happened to be the rep, she was like, I've got to get your information. So that show is for her.
Well, we'll be looking forward to having him on the program next week. And the following week, this has bounced around a little bit, but I believe our legal expert, Trey Boring, is going to join us. And it's just in time because there's been so much going on with the legal fight for cigars, for premium cigars. And to be honest, I've kind of gotten confused about it because there's been so many things going this way and that way. So Trey will come in and clear it up. Plus, we'll talk about Cigars for Warriors and all the other fun stuff that Trey usually likes to talk about.
The trade show's over now, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it'd be great
this last weekend. So
catch up on that.
all right, so we want to thank you guys for coming in. We're going to toast you with a little Lone Star going out here, which is a very Texas thing to do and makes it appropriate to say, cheers, y'all.
That's a short. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So, here's what